Hi there BookTube, it's Janet, and today I've come with you my first wrap up from the Fairy Tale Princesses retellings that I'm doing as a buddy read project with Eleanor from Eleanor Reads Books. If you saw my August TBR, you'll see that throughout August, and we may end up going on into September, I plan on doing 6 of the most popular Disney princesses, and we're going to read the original and then read 3 reimaginings or retellings of them, and wherever possible watch a film adaptation of them as well. So the first one that we've read is The Little Mermaid, and so that was originally written by Hans Christian Andersen, and I am reading this from the Oxford World Classics edition of Hans Christian Andersen's tales. It is pretty much as I remember it. It's certainly not for feminists amongst us, but it was written in the 19th century, I want to say. The Little Mermaid, I do think, benefited from the Disney treatment. I do think that all in all, Disney were pretty true to the original fairy tale, but they improved on it, because The Little Mermaid is obviously enraptured by this prince who lives on the land. It is beautiful in its description of the undersea world and the story of the mermaids' gardens that they have, and the actual sort of environment under the sea, and that sounds beautiful, and the actual connection between the sisters and the family under the sea is lovely. But then she obviously becomes enraptured by this prince who she forsakes everything for and makes bargains and deals, and then is enchanted to go and live on the land and win his heart, and obviously she has to forsake her voice, and basically it doesn't end well. He is aware of her, but it's not a reciprocal love. She's a bit indifferent to her, it doesn't work out, and obviously he goes and marries someone else, and then the family of the Little Mermaid are absolutely distraught because the spell is that, you know, she can never come back. But what they do in return is they also make a bargain, and they cut off all the hair and everything. They make a lot of sacrifices if the Little Mermaid will actually stab the prince and kill him. And she doesn't. She chooses to let him live, and then I think a lot of the versions, they either become sea foam or they almost become like these spirits. And so there's quite a lot of religious undertones in it, in that. And so she doesn't become sea foam, she becomes one of these spirits. And basically it seems like it's a description of purgatory, where she can then do good deeds and help people, and eventually she'll ascend to heaven. So it just seems quite Catholic in its retelling, very Christian, very moral. I suppose the good message is that you do good deeds, you get to go to heaven, and you get taken care of. But I am really annoyed that, you know, she forsook her family and didn't go back to them, and allowed this prince who was completely indifferent to her to just carry on being completely indifferent to her, and her family had to suffer after all the sacrifices that they made for her, and they wanted her back, and the love, and so yeah, it wound me up. So I definitely think the Disney version improves on that, and I do think Ariel has got a little bit more about her than the original Little Mermaid, but nonetheless it's readable, and it was good, and it was enjoyable. So I've rambled on about the original probably a bit too much. So the first adaptation or retelling or inspiration we read was Forgive My Fins by Tira Lynn Childs, and this is part of a trilogy, and again this is a YA book, and it focuses on unrequited love, and the main character in it, and I think her name is Lily, she is half mermaid. So her mother was human, her father is a merman, and so she's taken some time out from life under the sea with her sisters and her family to live with her aunt, because her mother is dead, to learn about her human side. And she knows that true love's kiss is obviously the be-all and end-all and the goal that she's seeking. And so she has her eye on this boy at school, and this is where the unrequited love comes in, and completely overlooks the real love of her life, who's the boy next door. And the story is predictable, there are no surprises in it. That obviously the object of her affection turns out to be a complete knob, and she realises that in the end, and you know, true love prevails and she ends up with the right one, who she actually takes under the sea to meet a family, which is lovely, and I really enjoyed that bit. And although it was predictable, I really enjoyed it. I found the characters completely likeable. I love the reimagining of it. You can see the whole inspiration of the Little Mermaid all the way through the story, but it was its own sort of work in its own right. And so there are 2 more books in this series, and I've bought them, and I'll probably show you on a haul, because I really do want to see where the story carries on, because there are elements of little side characters that are mentioned in this that I think take a more active part in the follow-up books, and I really like them. So yeah, thoroughly recommend. Would give this 4 stars. So the next one we read was Serina by Donna Jo Napoli, and this is like a tiny little book, and it's got a beautiful cover, and I didn't really know what to expect from this because it's quite an old battered copy, but this is sort of like a retelling of the Little Mermaid, but in sort of like the original inspiration for what the Little Mermaid could be, in that it goes back to the Greek myths, so you can kind of see where the Little Mermaid may have come from. So it's, how do I explain it? So it's a reimagining and retelling of the Little Mermaid, but in the style of maybe the original inspiration for that story, and it's beautifully written, and it's quite close to the themes of Little Mermaid, and love the characters. And again, though, there is a little bit of the lack of feminism in it, where, you know, she completely adores the man and will do anything for the man, and you know, what he wants becomes more important than what she wants. And if you've seen Eleanor's review of this, it does just end. It's almost like she got fed up writing, and you don't really know what happens to them all in the end. You just don't know, and you want to know. But I did enjoy it. It was a really good read, beautifully written. I would give this one 4 stars as well. It could have been a lot better if we just had maybe another 50 to 100 pages at the end where we kind of got to hear what happened afterwards. And so the final one that we read is The Summer of Chasing Mermaids by Sarah Ockler. And this again is a YA book, but this is a really clever way of bringing the Little Mermaid story up to date. And the main character in it is called Elise, and she's actually from Tobago, and she's a twin, and she was planning on having a career as a singer with her sister because she's got a really beautiful voice, but unfortunately there's some sort of accident and she's rendered mute, so she goes to stay with close friends in America, and she's sort of trying to come to terms with the fact that her whole future and destiny has now been turned on its head, and so she's got a few chips on her shoulder. But it's set in a really beautiful seaside town. There's some plotting and intrigue going on in the town. There are some fabulous characters in it. The boy in it that is the love interest seems like a really nice guy. There is a boat race that happens at the end that becomes really quite exciting, that Elise helps him with and sails. And his family are quite interesting in that you've got the quite a dysfunctional family, and the younger brother, Sebastian, which reminds me of Sebastian the Crab in Little Mermaid, we don't know if he's gay or maybe on the autistic spectrum or just a flamboyant child, but he is wanting to enter the mermaid parade, and obviously it's only for girls, and it's a little bit of like an embarrassment to the family that he wants to do this apart from his brother and Elise, and they totally accept him, and he's just lovely and he's absolutely delightful. Normally children in books wind me up a lot, but I did actually like Sebastian. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. It was really good. You do eventually find out how the accident happened and what happened where she lost her voice, and it was quite plausible. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, so I'll steam through this. So on the whole, the three Little Mermaid retellings were really good. Again, this was probably a 4-star read for me. So the film that we watched for it is called Ponyo. And I'd never seen anything by this filmmaker before. I'd never actually heard of it, but apparently it's quite well known. And it's actually a Japanese anime version, and then it's dubbed over by the Disney, and so some of the voices are from really well-known actors like Liam Neeson, and it's really well done, and it's very quirky, and you can see where the Little Mermaid inspiration comes from, but it's definitely its own entity. And it's sweet and it's quirky and the music's really fun, and really enjoyed it. Loved the animation, very unusual, the drawing style. Some of the characters, particularly the Liam Neeson character, I was very surprised when he opened his mouth and it turned to be Liam Neeson, because until then I thought it was a woman. But yeah, really enjoyed it, fabulously quirky. And so that's my wrap up for The Little Mermaid. Let me know what you think, or if you've read any of these. I'm absolutely loving doing this project with Eleanor. It's making me read things that I'd not even known about or been on my radar. I'm really new to fairy tale retellings and I'm absolutely loving it. So my next one I will be talking about will be Rapunzel. So I'll see you all soon. Keep reading. Bye!